Time again for the Ligier European Series to burst onto the Le Castellet track for another 60 minutes of action. Despite what that graphic says at the bottom, actually, that says 30 minutes. But we've got double that for their second race of the weekend. This is all part of Heat 2 for the Ligier European Series after a very successful event 3 weeks ago at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. So we're in the south of France on the Côte d'Azur, and this pretty narrow footprint of a track with two very technical sections through turns 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, and then the straight line down the Mistral, interrupted this year as last year by the chicane, the high-speed approach into Signes, the right-hander, followed by the double droite, the Garlaban right-hander, and then Virage du Lac and Virage du Pont to finish the 5.8 kilometres, and a big challenge whether you're driving in the JS2 R or the JS P4 category. There was at least one adjustment to the race result from earlier on, Graham Goodwin. That concerned one car that got into the pits a little too late and was subsequently given a penalty. That was the not the 84 car, it was the 83 car, thank you. So Lambert, in the end, because the race finished under a safety car, that was particularly penalising for him. Now, that's the sort of afternoon we've got right now.
It's Boursier waiting to call this race.
Yeah, just taking a moment to get some shut-eye because it's going to be harum-scarum stuff. The Trajectus Motorsport car then taken from the podium because it entered the pit lane, I think 6 seconds after that 7-minute pit window closed, promoting the two LR Motorsport cars to the podium. And the closing drivers, Andrea Frizza and Simone Bianco, were rather grateful of that. But it meant a win to the 41 VSF Sports crew in JS2 R, and the JS P4 honours went the way of ANS Motorsport for Ethan Faramond and Mika Abrahams.
I'm just waiting for visual evidence of what we've been told, but I'm sure that's correct. Can see indeed that after the very bad news at the end of the race for the dominant leader in JS2R, Marcus Eggleston, in the 88's 23 events racing JS2R, led by, coming on for 20 seconds, coming into the final moments of the race, and then a major mechanical drama dropped the car out at the chicane. Actually, I think the car actually running off into the barrier, but we believe that car is refettled, and in just a few moments, if we keep with this, there it is. A little bit of sideways action there from Eggleston, but he's going to be eager to recover what he can in terms of a points haul from the weekend. At 0 point it will be from race 1, but no doubt at all about it, that is one talented young man.
So here's the grid. Remember that for the cars that have two drivers, it was the other driver qualifying the car in Q2 yesterday, and Simon Schrantz Simone Riccitelli I was expecting on the starting grid, so that's interesting. The LR Motorsport car ahead of Mika Abrahams. Then Simon Schrantz in behind in third position ahead of Thomas Pompidou. Sebastian Kaupeng and Martin Lachmann for Team Virage and M Racing ahead of the first of the two Petrogol cars, neither of which got to the end of the earlier race, sadly. Jan Duran-Olive and Dan Scotch-Depola for ASM Motorsport. ANS Motorsport's Adrien Bastide alongside Nicholas Ellis for Trajectus. Victor Agater for Team Virage and the ASM Motorsport car. Then into the JS2Rs, Marcus Terkildsen in the repaired 23 events racing car, number 88, will start from pole position alongside Daniel Dalekian, who was the closing driver for VSF Sports, a winner earlier on today. Then the first of the two LR Motorsport cars for Simone Bianco, Laurence Herbeau for M Racing, Trajectus Motorsport and M Racing for Charles Lambert and Cindy Goudet. Let's run you through the final few positions on the grid. Andrea Frizza, Antonio Gibodo for LR Motorsport and VSF Sports, Trajectus Motorsport's Jack Tebery, Jose Moreros for Veloso Motorsport, and finally Pegasus Racing's Jordan Meyer in car number 94. Should make it a 25-car field, therefore, with still the warming up process taking place. This was billed as 2 formation laps ahead of a 4th race of the season. And after this weekend's final race for the Ligier European Series, it will be off to Le Mans for another hour-long race, billed to be the meat in the sandwich between 2 3-hour test sessions on the Sunday before the main race itself next month. So that will be on Sunday the 7th of June, with the 13th and the 14th, the following Saturday and Sunday, the weekend reserved, of course, for the latest edition of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. But it's a chance for some of these drivers that are still very early on in their racing careers to experience the full 8.5-mile Circuit de la Sarthe, which is some treat, and also in front of a fair collection of fans who deliberately go a week early to take in some of that test day action as well.
Well, one of the unique parts of the ticketing for 24 Hours of Le Mans is you effectively get test weekend free.
Nice.
So they will be getting some racing as well as getting their first chance to see the full field of the 24 Hours of Le Mans on track. The gaps in action for those runners will be picked up by these runners and more. Waiting to find out what the full race entry will be, but it's always boosted by numerous entries from the JS Cup France, the JS2 Rs, and we are told to expect additional runners in JS P4 as well. So that's a mouth-watering prospect. Before then, though, Johnny, after what was a really good race this morning, let's look forward to another 60 minutes of Ligier bonkersness. What's, I think, defined this championship very often has been great clean racing. You know, there's been the odd bit of biffing around here and there, but generally speaking, the racing has been really good, really clean, really respectful, and it's doing exactly what it's designed to do. It's giving a lot of young drivers a first rung on the endurance racing ladder. It's given a lot of older drivers an opportunity to hone their skills and see where they sit. Just saw in the background there, one of the JS P4s making a bit of a mistake in the line and clattering over the curbs, I think, possibly in avoidance of cars checking up for the chicane, but no harm, no foul, and I think we're all good to go.
Just trying to work out whether we actually have a new championship leaders now in the form of Ethan Pharamond and Mika Abrahams, because they will have gone to 55 points. In fact, Pharamond, no, there's no extra point for the pole. So 55 versus 43 for Alex Gardner and Simon Strantz. And the Pompidou and Boutellier car, where did they finish? Down in 6th position, for which you get 8 points. So yes, Pharamond and Abrahams, after a bit of mental arithmetic there, are actually leading the championship now. The official bulletin with the latest points will be issued at the end of this race. But there's always a bit of chopping and changing in the opening few heats of the Ligier European Series, and a very valuable win for the number 6 car, which has to start on the outside of the front row for this particular race, because Simone Riccitelli performed so well in yesterday's second qualifying session. It was a 206.8 to put that car on pole position, 207.2 for Mika Abrahams, so only 0.4 of a second between them. They are the starting drivers for this part of the weekend. If you've qualified the car on the grid, then you then start the car, and it means that one driver of a 2-driver lineup both gets a chance to qualify through the weekend. They also then both get a chance to start a race and to finish a race. So try and make it as equal as possible. There are several drivers, though, all in JS2R, that are doing the solo drive. They'll have to spend 5 extra seconds in the pit lane during that 7-minute pit stop window. We're still waiting for those 10 red lights to be extinguished, and in a moment or two we are now racing for the Ligier European Series, the second time today, and it does look to be a good getaway from the pole sitter Simone Riccitelli. Quite a little bit of sorting out to be done just in behind. And what about that turn in for the car? No, it has to go straight on the number 6. So Mika Abrahams has to shortcut the first corner, and the car in immediately behind him, which might have been Thomas Pompidou, also across the escape road.
It was Pompidou.
Yeah, so there you go. So some time lost, and now here comes the Petrogol car, number 33, which has been excellently started by Jan Duran Olive.
From 7th up to 2nd, and that was the car, remember, in real trouble in the early part of the race this morning. The 93 as well. Petrogol done a terrible start to the proceedings today. The 33 in fine Vettel at this stage, up in the 2nd place from 7th. on the grid.
Excellent news that both of those dark blue cars can be part of this second race then, and it looks like the 33 has lost none of its speed. Scott Marsh will be hoping that his teammate Jan Olive can keep that car's nose clean in time for it to be handed back over to the British racer. And it looks like the 93 car's right in the middle of the action as well for André Duna. So Duna is in behind the rejoining Thomas Pompidou after he straight-lined that first Verrerie chicane.
This is Don Bastien in the JS P4 out of position there, and further down the order than he'd hoped to be. We've got yellow flags briefly at turn 9, but they are being withdrawn.
Marcus Turkin.
Oh, it's trouble for the Trajectors car.
And now which one is?
That's the 83.
83. So Charles Lambert, having been penalised for pitting outside of the window, put to the back of the earlier result today. Looks like that car's not going to go much further unless he can get back to the pits and it be repaired. But that's a tough ask because he's still got a good couple of kilometres to do before he can make it back to the pit lane itself. Still lots of sorting out with various, well, an overlap within the categories here. So as you've said, Don Bastien, Dan Scocchi-DiPola as well has been in strife in the 44 ASM Motorsport car. He's now got ahead of Dominic Bastien though.
Well, Don Bastien seems to be struggling here with the car, so whether or not he's taken contact or whether or not it's just the early pace. Dom, 80 years old now, still racing hard.
There are the two Trajectus Motorsport cars, nose to tail. So Thomas Pompidou, Nick Ellis, 19 and 20. They're 7th and 8th positions currently in the background.
In the background, it had been off already.
Yeah, it had already happened.
And there's...
well, was that from the M Racing car? The second bit of debris, which flew from, it looked like the underneath of the...
Certainly looked to be... Oh, there's...
So M Racing definitely involved number 68. And as that was sideways and off the track, I wonder whether it's got T-boned to create so much damage for the 83 Trajectus car. So Lambert in the pit lane, Lawrence Herbeau in the 68, the multicoloured, the pink and black and blue car in the pit lane as well. Oh, now there's more contact, and that is for the race leader, who was the race leader at least, Mika Abrahams, and Abrahams was actually battling for 4th and 5th positions. Who was into the back of him, the number one?
It was Sebastian Corpeng. So that's going to be looked at, I'm sure.
Yeah. So Olive had already got through. I was just trying to work out what positions they were in at the turning point for the North Chicane. He'd lost further places, so this was for 4th and 5th, and they are then trying to sort themselves out, but contact at the turning point, and that was kind of never going to work. And as you say, Sebastian Kopeng was also involved in the number 1 Team Virage car. Is there now damage to the rear of the 6 ANS Motorsport car? Mika Abrahams looking very unlikely we're going to get a repeat winner, therefore, in the form of car number 6. So has the door been left wide open now for Simone Riccitelli and his teammate in car number 7, Pietro Ferri, or somebody else entirely?
So we can see on our monitors the damage to the two JS2Rs, and it's pretty significant damage to the 83 car at the front, and it goes beyond just the bonnet. And the 68 car...
3 cars off now, I think.
Again.
3 cars off, including the M Racing. That was Martin Lachmann, who was well in the fight in race
again.
1. Sebastian Corpeng in number 1, and there was a third car, which was a Trajectus car, I thought. But they are still up there, so maybe not. I might have misidentified the livery there.
And to complete the thought on the two JS2Rs, there's a big hole in the side of the M Racing car, so I think you're right. Massively T-boned in that incident at the chicane.
Yeah, so the sharp bite out of the right-hand side of the M Racing car and the big biff in the nose for the Trajectus JS2R of Charles Lambert. Round the outside there goes a recovering Martin Lachmann, who was off the road with Sebastian Kopeng and possibly the ASM car that, or the ANS car rather, that is in that vicinity. Here are the two Trajectus teammates, Thomas Pompidou, Nick Ellis, then a gap, and a bit tentative at turn in there was the driver of number 99.
That's 8th and 9th, the 57 and the 99. Then that's allowed the 6 car to get in between them again. So on the recovery drive now, Mika Abrahams, he goes ahead of the 99 Team Virage car.
Yeah, so these two, again, side by side at times, not necessarily the quickest way around here, and down the inside is another place change as some recovery work is necessary for Mika Abrahams, but he's got at least ahead of Martin Lachmann now, way out the curve though, and that's going to cost him a bit more time. It might be that Lachmann could get back in front, as meanwhile, place change there for Simon Schrantz, who's now got ahead of Jan Olive. So Schrantz biding his time well on the rear of the Petra Gold car and prized the opening just before the end of this, the third lap. However, now there's a great tow from Olive in the 33 Petra Gold car, trying to shake that viciously with Simon Schrantz.
Goes out the inside. Classic chance here at the tow one. I think he may have got it done. He has. Beautifully
hold
done.
On to it, and yes. So Jan Olive, who drove really well in Barcelona, I remember. So that car now back up to second place. Simon Schrantz, again though, is not going to be comfortable in allowing that to happen, so wants to stay within contention to try and switch the fortunes one more time. And heading down that very slight descent into Virage du L'Hôtel is the number 99 of Victor Aguirre, with Martin Lachmann for company in 57, and then another one of the Team Virage cars, which is a recovering Sebastian Kaupeng. Behind that, Luis Carlos Perez Caballo in the number 12 ASM car, as now Simon Schrantz got a really good run coming out of St. Baume corner and into the North Chicane. So Simon Schrantz back into second place. Jan Olive, though, looking for a much better exit, has to go fully off the track in order to carry the momentum. And Schrantz isn't going to give him the racing room necessarily, so he just uses every bit of the track that's available to him as he exits the North Chicane. That prevents Jan Olive from getting alongside again into Senior, which would have been a brave manoeuvre. And this is all playing nicely into Simone Riccitelli's hands, because he is already 4 seconds up the road. It could easily be more than that, actually, by the end of this particular lap. Now way over the curb, which is a mistake that Simon Schrantz did not make. So that gap's opened up to 2 or 3 car lengths. It'll come down again, though, now, as they arrive at Garlaban corner. Lap 4. I'm going to be fascinated to know what the lead margin is for Simone Riccitelli in just a moment or two. However, meantime, in JS2R, Marcus Tilkertsen is leading by 1.4 seconds over Simone Bianco. So the fact that he's up against Bianco for this opening stint, although having said that, it's Bianco on his own in that car. Yes, he is. So Bianco did the full hour earlier on. He's back in for another 60 minutes this time around, and Bianco is just about able to keep with Tilkertsen in the first 10 minutes or so. And here is Marcus. So brand new engine required in this car, as we remind you what happened at the start of the second race of the day, with thankfully all of the potential runners back in the race needing repairs. The 2 dark blue JS P4s have been in the workshop being fettled, as 2 cars departed very quickly, and they were the number 6 car that started on the front row, driven by Mika Abrahams, and Thomas Pompidou kind of going off in sympathy. Yeah, one locked up and Pompidou had nowhere to go, I think. So they both had to take kind of to the escape route. There was another escapee as well in the background.
I wonder whether or not that might be looked at, because take a look at this, that the red and white car did not follow one of those escape roads.
Agreed.
That is absolutely not what they're supposed to do.
No.
There could be further trouble ahead here.
And then the contact. Do we see the T-bone?
Oh, yes.
Ouch. But VSF's one of VSF's
41
cars
car
off as well.
Yep, I think that's the 41 car.
So that was Daniel Dalacan, yeah, who started second in the class and is now down to 7th position. So that explains why he was so heavily delayed as well. So
great dronage there, by the way.
That's what I thought, yeah. And to be able to find that footage as quickly as the guys in the truck were able to do, and provide us a much better answer as to the goings-on at the North Chicane on that first lap. Simon Schrantz, 2nd position, car moving around underneath him, but he's clearly very happy about that. And Jan Olive wanting to just hang on to the coattails as much as possible to the Austrian racer.
Yeah, Riccitelli getting away with this battle behind him. He's, what, 4.5 seconds up. Car 35, by the way, And car 3, 10 seconds added to their pit stop for the start procedure. So the number 3 car, that is the LR Motorsport car Andrea Fritza in the JS2 R. Car 35, he reminds himself, is the car ahead of him, the Veloso Motorsport car of Jose Moreros. Those 2 cars, by the way, running 4th and 5th in JS2 R. Both will get 10 seconds added to their pit stop.
Yeah, so that takes them to 115 seconds for the most part. Remember, there are 2 different pit stop reference times when you enter the pit lane, somewhere between 27 minutes into the race and 34 minutes into the race. You then have to be in pit lane, i.e. between pit in and pit out, for 110 seconds if you are solo driving, or 105 seconds if you have 2 pilots. Now that counts for all in JS P4 this weekend. They are all 2 driver entries, and there are 4 cars in JS2 R that are solo efforts, including Marcus Terkelsen, who of course finished outside the points earlier today.
Terkelsen not getting away though this time. It's a very different look of a race for him. Meantime, the 93 car from Petra Gold under pressure from Nicholas Ellis in his number 20 Tridectus racing motorsport car, my apologies. And that is the 93 having just gone past Ellis. So Andrea Duna goes past the Manx domiciled Nick Ellis. There's the 3 legs of a man proudly on his overalls.
Well, he was the quicker of the 2, I felt. I haven't actually seen the kind of times to back that up, but Ellis had a very strong second stint, having taken over from Gabriel Doyle-Parfait. But Doyle-Parfait had that monster spin at the end of the Mistral going into senior corner, which may have put him a tad on the back foot. Here's a recovering 41 car. Now, we know why that damage is on the front left corner now for Daniel Dalecant, because he was hooked up with a moment at the North Chicane. It looked like actually Dalecant had already had a spin, and then the 2, one T-boning the other, arrived on the scene. So almost 2 separate incidents at the North Chicane on that first lap.
He's back up to 6th now as a result of that move. Still this pair battling away for second place. He's hanging on in there as well, by the way, with Riccitelli, who's still 4.6 seconds ahead now, so drawing out, but only by the odd 10th here and there in this phase of the race. 46 minutes to go.
There's Martin Lachmann getting a good run out of the Verrerie chicane and down towards Virage du L'Hôtel. And good overtake potentially here as well from VSF. So the recovery work's going nicely for Daniel Dalecant. His teammate Anthony Bernard had a stonking battle with the Lambert car in the opening stint of this morning's race. So that is a quick machine, and it does appear that the damage isn't really holding it back at this stage. Level pegging with the number 3. Can it get by at Verrerie chicane? Certainly going to try. Discretion the better part of Valor as it does battle with Andrea Fritza for LR Motorsport. There's the race leader, by the way, also an LR Motorsport entry, Simone Riccitelli. But look further back because the fight is far more intriguing right now between Simon Trantz and Jan Olive.
Just to remind you, by the way, that move effectively has already been done by Dalecant, because that is one of 2 cars with 10-second penalties hanging over them, as is the car ahead, which is under 10 seconds ahead. So whilst at the moment we've got Dalecant sitting in 6th place, in reality, on count back he's 4th.
There was Lachmann on replay, getting ahead then of Victor Agater, putting Lachmann into 10th place now. And he's got another car within touching distance, which is the Sebastian Kaupeng-driven Virage entry. There's the Veloso car with Jose Moreros at the wheel, one of the Pro-Am entries in JS2R, just like Cindy Goudet's car, which is one in front of that, in 3rd place. Simone Riccitelli has to continue to try and extend this gap if he can. It's 4.7 seconds. It's been at about 4 seconds for the last 2 or 3 laps now. And that might be because the 2 behind him have calmed down their scrap a tad, maybe deciding whilst they're in each other's cars, kind of thing, or in one another's cars, to say, right, let's stop fighting with one another, let's stop slowing each other down and try and go for the race leader. So work together rather than against each other. ANS Motorsport's Mika Abrahams quicker than anybody else with a 2:08.545. So still some pace from the earlier spinning number 6 car, and it's 3 abreast going into the final corner. As again, late on the brakes there goes the 41 of Dalakan.
But this time it's the Veloso Motorsport car that is the victim of the overtake. Still the LR Motorsport car trying to get ahead. Fritzer holding off Dalakan. Still, but it was Fritzer round one side. It was the meat and the sandwich, wasn't it? The tricolore coloured 35 car. 2, by the way, under review, not following race drivers' instructions at Zone 1. We said they thought this might happen, yes. And it is 2 cars. It's the number 19 Trajectors car of Thomas Pompidou and the 18 VSF Sports car. It's the second VSF car in this battle, that car of Anthony Chibordo.
Dalakan almost leaning on Fritzer. They did manage to get through the hotel sequence of corners without any contact. Is that going to remain the case into 6 and 7, as now Dalakan gets marginally ahead, but here comes Fritzer on the fight back. Now Dalakan's wider line was okay in terms of keeping up the momentum, so that's the fight for 4th place.
Well, there's his next target. That's Cindy Goudet ahead in the M Racing car, the 75 car, the orange and black JS2 R. It's just been passed back again. I think he might have got, no, he's not. It was the perspective was rather troubling.
So, cars, yeah, we had a correction to the earlier message, and actually an additional car entered effectively. So 18 and 19 were under review, and then they've added car 44 into that message about not following the instructions at turn 1.
That's Dan Scotch-Tapola in the ASM Motorsport car.
So that came from race control about a minute or so ago. Excellent drive from Daniel Dalakan to now be ahead of Andrea Fritzer. The next driver on his list is Cindy Goudet's M Racing car.
It's 5 seconds. That's the gap to watch for the first of the podium positions as he cannons his way up the order after that early problem at the chicane. Number 1 and 57 still battling away, a bit further down the order than they were. All sorts of shenanigans this race, significantly less clean, to put it that way. A bit more of a contact event, race 2 than race 1. 41 minutes remain, and all sorts of fights in both classes, up and down both orders. Meantime, though, Simone Riccitelli, he is pulling away a bit now, 5.3 seconds, the good, ahead of the 14 and 33 battle. This battle too between the number 1 from Team Virage and the 57 from M Racing has got plenty still to give, and it is the 57 looking to see whether or not Martin Lackermack can take advantage up the inside, and has done so. Grabs that place back, and it's 9th place to the M Racing man. Yeah,
so Lackermack fends off the approaches of the 99, initially of Victor Agater, and now he's now ahead of Sebastian Kaupeng. So Adrian Bastide and Mika Abrahams, both driving ANS Motorsport Ligiers, are a bit further up the road. 2.5 seconds or so. We'll see whether Lachman can start to reel those two in. We've had nearly 1/3 of this hour-long race, and that means that in another just over 7 minutes, the pit lane window will open for 7 minutes, so from 27 to 34 minutes, where everybody must come in and make a pit stop, regardless of whether you've entered with 1 driver or 2. And now the Veloso car under pressure as it exits the north chicane. So Veloso car being driven by Jose Moreras, with Jack Tabaret not that far away for Trajectus. 19 and 93, Trajectus up against Petrogold, and that is for 4th and 5th places.
Remember, this number 19 car does have a 10-second penalty hanging over it, but will want to do what it can to review hanging over it. And apologies for this one. Does want to do what he can to hold off the number 93 here. Thomas trying to pick the right line, but he's been done in a straight line by the number 93.
Well, that was all about the exit speed out of the St. Baume sequence of corners 6 and 7.
It is about where you defend, isn't it? If you compromise your speed in defence, you leave yourself so vulnerable. And that was the lesson learned there. Probably will not need to be taught it again, Thomas Pompidou.
Yeah, well, it's the short-term safety of, right, I'm not going to let you bite this corner, but then that means you can't get the forward momentum coming out of the next sequence of corners. And turn 7, the little left-hand kick, way more important than turn 6. And there are other corners similar to that as well. You can compromise your run, for instance, into turn 14, the penultimate corner, favouring a better exit out of turn 15, because that's the high-speed exit, or you will be at high speed shortly after turn 15 across the start-finish line.
Now teams are going to have to start to be thinking about exactly where they're going to think about this pit stop window very shortly. 1:99 from Team Virage. Virage have been used to being at the sharp end of this race with numerous cars, but the 1 and the 99 have both had their problems in the early stages. This is our race leader, a rare shot at the moment of Simone Riccitelli. He's got the first of those Virage cars, the 14, now almost 6 seconds back, so he's beginning just to pull out a bit more of an advantage.
Great rotation on the Riccitelli car, it looked like, into turn 5. Very little steering input really required to get the car turned significantly and sufficiently. So it's behaving well, I would suggest. Nearly 6 seconds up the road from Simon Schrantz. Here are the pair that are in 10th and 11th positions currently. Kaupeng ahead of teammate Agater, Victor Agater, one of a couple of Agater brothers that are in this race this weekend, as the exercises are commencing for ingoing drivers. Meanwhile, look in the background and the side-by-side action between Nick Ellis and Mika Abrahams, and Ellis getting the place, or keeping the place more appropriately, in 6th place there. But Abrahams applying pressure.
Indeed. Also wanted to add, by the way, still that battle underway as they come down towards C corner, and the 99 car's made its way through on the 1. Is Delacan in pursuit of Cindy Goudet. Remember, that was 5 seconds when the move was made for Delacan to take 4th place. It's now 1.5, so Cindy Goudet under real pressure as we get close to the pit stop window.
There was, I thought, a squeal of tyres from somewhere, but that might have just been a car on the ragged edge going through the second bit of the Beausset, the double right there. 93 Andre Duna under pressure from Thomas Pompidou, as we've only got a couple more minutes to go before the pit lane window opens, 3 and a bit, so they have to stay out for the time being.
So Nick Ellis has fended off, for the moment at least, Mika Abrahams. That's a good work by the youngster. Started his career in the Ligier European Series with the last meeting of last year, into JS P4 this year, and I think he's enjoying his time, picking up pace, picking up consistency, and fending off one of the dominant drivers of the weekend so far at the moment, but still having to fend him off. Up the inside this time, Abrahams has got the apex, did he? Forces the 20 wide, and will have to, I think, cede that position.
So yeah, so far approaching the Virage de l'Hôtel sequence of corners, so far off the track that you then can't take advantage by cutting the corner, I think was the thought process in Nick Ellis's mind there for trajectors. So Ellis up against Mika Abrahams, nothing to stop him fighting back, of course, on the approach to the chicane on this occasion. And just ahead of them, Pompidou still turning the screw on Duna's Petrogold car, number 93. Petrogold having a much better race than earlier on, when, unfortunately, after the first 5 or so, 10 minutes, let's say, both cars were out of the race. And Scott Marsh's issue in the 33 car hit actually on the first lap, when it just continually kept conking out, that number 33 car, and did eventually require a safety car to be recovered. Here is Daniel Dalakian.
This is the battle for 3rd place now,
with Cindy Goudet in the 75. So she runs in the Pro-Am category.
Yeah, Dalacan is picked up 5 seconds to get into this battle on Cindy Goudet. So his pace undiminished by the earlier problems, and I think he's going to make pretty short work here, is he? Looks the inside, looks the outside, putting the number 75 driver under pressure. We'll look to get the optimal exit here onto the first section of the Mistral and try to get this done. Not close enough, I don't think, though, Johnny.
Cindy Goudet is a bronze driver. She shares this car with silver-rated Nathan Hewitt. So that's the reason why this car collectively is in the Pro-Am division. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's an easy pass for Daniel Dalacan, and he's still just sitting on the tail of the French woman to work out precisely where his car might be a bit quicker.
Well, Cindy knows these cars very well indeed, and she'll know this track very well too. So she is going to be absolutely no pushover. And by the way, Dalacan's charge towards Cindy Goudet has been matched by the 2 cars behind, the second of the VSF cars, and that is the LR Motorsport car with the 84 just passing now the 35 for 7th place. That is Jack Tabaret passing Jose Moreros in this very well presented Veloso Motorsport car. New team this season for Ligier European Series in their stylised Italian colours livery. Pretty looking car.
Yeah, but with the flag of Portugal, and actually the left-hand side of the paintwork, or the wrap, has a half of a tyre ring showing that it's been in some contact already. Just a scuff, I suppose, right over the number panel. But we like to see race cars like that, showing that they've been working hard. And Jose Moreros in the 35 car will be handing over to Pedro Moreros at roughly half distance. Here was the pass potentially, which put Cindy Goudet down to 4th position, and it's a good one from Daniel Dalacan into Virage, the Virage du Pont, the final corner of the track, and up to what I thought was 3rd. Yes, it is 3rd, although we had one car peel off in the background.
It was the LR Motorsport car of Fritzer, and that car will be on pit lane for 10 seconds longer than it otherwise would have been.
So that tells me the confirmation that the pit lane window is now open, bang on time. We've had a minute and 20 seconds or so of that already.
Already in as well, by the way, Dominic Bastien. And following down pit lane, Nick Ellis has pitted the number 20 Trajectors car. And Nick Abrams, by the way, has made short work of the gap to the second of the Trajectors cars, the 19, or rather the first of the Trajectors cars. Thomas Pompidou under pressure now from a charging Nick Abrams, and he's going to go through and try to get onto terms with the first of the 2 Petrogol cars, Andre Duna, for 4th place. He is, though, under investigation for contact with the number 1 car. We saw that at turn 8 earlier. So again, all sorts of not just management but investigations underway, race control, potentially the stewards as well.
So turn 8 is the turning point for the chicane. Now they're absolutely level pegging, I think. It's very difficult to say from this distance out, but 19 and 6 almost arriving into the turning point at the chicane together. That favoured the car on the inside line, Thomas Pompidou. But yes, we spoke about the contact at the time between Sebastian Kaupeng in the number 1 and the number 6 of Mika Abrahams, resulting in a spin for the South African. And Abrahams has yet to pit, but we have had a handful of JS P4s come in, including Martin Lachman in the 57M racing car, Adrian Bastide in as well, as there out wide briefly was the number 6 of Mika Abrahams coming through senior corner. So that was again trying to draw level with Thomas Pompidou in the number 19. Didn't quite work, as a relatively early pit stop then for Luis Carlos Perez, bringing the number 12 car in, and that will be taken over by Dutchman Sacha van Pat Bosch. And also in Cindy Goudet, I noticed there, from the lead of JS2 R Pro-Am. That will put Anthony Guibodo and Jack Tabaret now ahead of her, but she will be taking the stop, and Goudet is sharing with Nathan Hewitt, as I've said. So this will be a pit stop that can last no shorter than 105 seconds, or 1 minute and 45. If you're with two drivers, it is 5 seconds shorter than that, so 105 versus 110. So Cindy Goudet, Nathan Hewitt will take the shorter version of that, but if you're Laurence Herbeau or you're Simone Bianco or you're Marcus Terkildsen, it's 110 seconds that you need to spend in pit lane, and that's not stationary time, that is time between pit in and pit out, and the control line's there. So have to be very careful when you finally do release your car from this standing position to pit exit.
Driver warning for track limits, Mika Abrahams, but he's on pit lane, so that was effectively 0 again. So he's judged that to perfection, really.
Yeah.
Impressive charge back up the order, by the way, from him, back up to 4th before pitting. After the early dramas. Meantime, untroubled, and now 9.5 seconds clear, the LR Motorsports car of Simone Riccitelli, ahead of Jean Duran Olive in the number 33 Petrogol car. Cindy Goudet hands over the 75 car to, I think, that sounds right?
Hewitt, as we were told, yes. We were pronouncing it as Huey in Barcelona, but we were put right. Hewitt. Because there is...
oh, hang on. Is this drama for the leader?
I think he's okay.
Styling it out.
Yes, well, that's the quickest way through there, says Simone Riccitelli. Yeah, there's a guy also that works in the offices within the LMEM and kind of Jeff Carter's office. He pretends he's in charge of it, but actually he's not. Okay. Called Aaron Hewitt, and I checked with him as well. I said, you pronounce your name Hewitt, not Huey? He said, oh, it's always with the Hewitt. Oh. I said, no, right. We have firmly been put right now by two separate guys. So thank you for the advice. And he will be, therefore, Nathan Hewitt will be the new driver into number 75. Simone Riccitelli's in. I was about to say, if he doesn't pit now, it's going to be very touch and go, but they are properly on it at LR Motorsport. Jan Olive also in for Petrogol in the number 33 car, second place. And Alex Gardner, Christian Garduño, Vincent Boutellier have just made their stops. They pitted a lap earlier and are back out on track. Ethan Faramond, the new driver, into number 6 as expected.
Yeah, everybody either in or in and out. Both the VSF cars, JS2Rs there on pit lane. And this will start to sort its way out. Pretty livery on that car, Petrogol.
Yes. Looks good, and I think they're significantly different for us to tell them apart if they are side by side.
Yeah, one's got 33 on the side, the other one's got 93 on the side.
That's always handy, yeah, thank you. So away goes the 88 of Marcus Terkildsen, leader in JS2R. He was the leader in JS2R early in the day as well, before, rather violently, the engine in that car went bang halfway around the lap, and his hopes of getting maximum points in round 3 or race 3 of the season went up in smoke equally. And the crew number 41 kind of couldn't believe their luck of Daniel Dalican and Antonin Bernard, who just drove by the stricken number 88 and on to the class victory. This time, a little bit of bad luck going the way of VSF Sports on that opening lap. That car's now been taken over by Antonin Bernard and is shown in 3rd position currently. So behind Terkildsen and behind Simone Bianco's LR Motorsport car.
Taking a look down at the times. Bits are not actually registered. Or did the teams that had the 10-second penalties take them? Yellow's at turn 14 at the moment, but I don't think that was a car stationary. That's the... what we're seeing here. Bit of a wiggle from the 14.
So quite busy on that run coming out of turns 6 and 7. A couple more cars pouring out of that section as well. A very technical start to the second sector. So Pietro Ferri, the new driver into number 7 LR Motorsports car. Ferri generally not as quick as Riccitelli. It's nip and tuck, but Riccitelli on balance is the quicker of the pairing. So now it's a question of whether Pietro Ferri can use this 11.6 second gap to his advantage, because Alex Gardner was certainly getting his elbows out in the opening stint this morning. Down at senior corner, 3 cars trying to get through there all at the same time, one of which is the ANS car now being driven by Ethan Faramond.
Yeah, that was the 6 and the 93, both going by the 19 on Vincent Boutellier. And it's the 93 that takes the bigger advantage. So 93 now in the hands of Christian Garduno, under pursuit from Ethan Faramond. But this is now the battle for 4th place.
Yeah. So rejoining Scott Marsh is ahead of these in 3rd. Alex Gardner in front of him in turn for Team Virage as well.
Car 6, though, is involved in this battle. Will have 5 seconds added to race time for not following race director instructions at the start of the race. The second car involved in that is the car in 12th place. Enrique Oliveira gets similar 5-second penalty.
Down the inside, an attempt at an overtake. He's not taking a penalty just yet, so he's only just been issued, in fairness.
It'll be added to race time, remember?
Oh yes, I beg pardon. So no next pit stop, so just got a question of trying to get 5 seconds ahead of as many cars as he can now, so it doesn't count against him. But that is Ethan Faramond, who has already cleared Christian Garduno, who now spins, and as a result the 19 spins as well in reaction. I don't think there was contact, but Vincent Boutellier is briefly facing the wrong direction as well, gaining.
That's Gabriel Dole-Parfait picks up 2 places. Thank you very much, I'll have that.
But August Turbo got through as well and judged that perfectly by not making any contact too. And now is that Garduno straight back on the rear of Turbo's car, 93. Yes, so he was one of the spinners coming out of Virage du L'Hôtel. Turbo drove by through the gap. So let's watch this in sequence. First of all, the number 6 car was clear of them, and then 93 spins all on its own.
Spins almost an avoidance, really.
Yes, because I think to be fair to Vincent Boutellier, had he not taken some sort of avoiding action, there may well have been contact, but as he steered right, that chucked the car into a spin, and he's lost significant ground as well, rejoining in 8th place. I
was about to say, by the way, August Turbo now aboard the M Racing car, the pink car with the blue fins on the nose, there we go, have been putting in very, very quick sector times, and is beginning to make an impact on this race. 6th place, he's 30 seconds back from the leader, but his next target is 4 seconds ahead, and that is Gabriel Dole-Parfait.
Pietro Ferri, 9 seconds up the road from Alex Gardner for Team Virage. There's the 93 Petrogol car, but Scott Marsh is in the sister machine and running in 3rd place, so on course for a podium, which sadly by the end of lap 1, or halfway round the first lap this morning, was very, very unlikely for 33, because something was wrong with that car, an intermittent issue where Scott could get it restarted, Control-Alt-Delete several times, but then eventually got stranded. But this is how motorsport can suddenly reward you in the very next event. Running 3rd as things stand, as now Marcus Terkelson exits the chicane on the Mistral straight in a convincing lead, Graham.
5 seconds to the good. In the overall lead, by the way, Pietro Ferri is ceding a little bit of time to Alex Gardner in the Virage 14. But that gap is still 9.8 seconds. It was 11 seconds. So want to keep an eye on in the next few minutes to see whether or not that can start to come down.
Brandon McCuchen and Arnold Malizia, 2 entries from Team Virage, circulating absolutely together. And here's the 84 of Martin Tabaré, under pressure now from Kasparas Vingilis for Pegasus Racing. Vingilis with a slightly better exit out of the chicane. So on their run up towards senior corner, maybe around the outside, and yes, Vingilis is able to pick off the 84 car of Martin Tabaré. That won't be an immediate concern for Martin's run in Pro-Am, because it doesn't change his position within that subcategory. He's still 3rd.
Confirmation, by the way, that the time penalties that we're going to JS P4s was that turn 1, lap 1 incident that we saw from the drone shot very clearly. An option taken not to follow the cut through. And his race director's instructions, it's very clear in the driver's briefing. But my guess is a bit of red mist.
Well, there's a blend line there, as in sort of you can't cross the left-hand side of the white line, and also there's a right-hand white line as well. So a deliberate channel, a lane, very similar to the first corner at Barcelona when you overcook it there, and you can't rejoin because it's unsafe. There's scope for some contact to be made, and I don't think either car in that instance, neither the 6 or the 44, got within the lane, let alone attempted to take the escape road. They just occupied that no man's land in between.
Keep an eye on how that's going to affect things. Still at the moment, man of the move in terms of the time is Auguste Turbo, now within a second and a half of Gabriel Doyle-Parfait. And remember, with the 6 car ahead, the further up in terms of time he can get, the more he gets within the potential to pick up that place. The 10-second penalty looming.
10 seconds or 5 seconds? 5 seconds, yes.
My apologies.
That's all right for car 6 and car 44. So the 6 car is the bigger concern for us, I suppose, because it could potentially make the podium on the road, but then Faramond would have to clear, for instance, Scott Marsh by a further 5 seconds to stay in that spot.
Pietro Ferri, by the way, all of a sudden is extending the lead. It had come down to about 9.5 seconds, now up to 10.1. Meantime, this is the battle for 4th place, 5th place, between the 20 and the 57. Still being held at the moment by the Trajectus car. Helped a little by the traffic, which was one of the Trajectus JS2Rs.
Here comes Turbo to the inside into the double droite, and we'll get the position though through the first element of it at least, and as long as Auguste Turbo can keep his line neat and tidy on the exit. Having said that, plenty of curb taken, so now the Trajectus car might have a chance to fight back, but it's just a bit too far behind. Yep. So Gabriel Doyle-Parfait, who's already had a big moment coming out of senior today, not in this race but early this morning, has to make do with that overtake for the time being, but there's still 17 minutes of the race to go. There's also a good fight up ahead of these. They're about to lap Kasparas Vingilis and Noah Rosser, who are fighting for 5th and 6th in JS2 R.
It's quite often when those fights are underway that this becomes trickier, isn't it? Trying to go either side here, gets a good run as a result of that. The Petrogol car up the inside of the 19 as a result of what was a very, very brave overtake. Hasn't quite got it, has he? He's got it because the 19's had to take the escape road, and there will be problem for the 19, I think.
Gardugno was attempting the overtake, but, well, there will be an argument now that the car that he was fighting with, Vincent Boutellier, he'll say, well, I had little choice but to run off the road. But he would also argue that Gardugno already had the corner because he was ahead. But he did go off the road on the main straight to get that momentum.
He did indeed.
So there's a lot for Ronnie Anderson to look at there.
Let's watch this again.
Well, it had begun before this, but at the point of turning...
No, I'm sorry, that's on the 19. The Petrogol car made the corner.
Yes.
Undoubtedly, and then that's not doing what he's supposed to do.
True.
Once he's gone off.
As far as the escape road is concerned. But I just make the point, you know, the back marker on the main straight, was Gardugno off the road in that blue area in order to get the momentum to start the overtake?
Right, so car 19 noted, not following race director's instructions, and by the way, retained the place.
Yes.
So it's got sort of double bubble. That they just got to be a bit smarter in that instance. Car 1, meanwhile, Team Virage in the moment in the hands of Brandon McCocken. Drive-through penalty causing a collision at turn 8.
Well, having said it retained the place, has there been an effort from Boutellier to drop back behind now the 93 of Gardugno? Because
that would be a smart move.
Yes, for sure. It would go in your favour, at least. So Gardugno maybe a little bit hot now into this left-hander. Garlaban's the right-hander, the constant radius, medium speed right-hander. Before then, the two tricky final corners of the track, one left, one right. Gardugno is ahead of Boutellier in that battle for 7th position, and they've got the Kasparas Vingilis car in order to overtake as well.
You can see in the background the number 1 car coming in to take that drive-through penalty. In terms of the lead battles, Pietro Ferri is retaining that 10.5 place second lead now, and in JS2R, Marcus Tegilson, who now has the recovering number 14 Breton Racing JS P4 behind him, but he has, what is that, 9 seconds now on Simone Bianco, so that toe has finally been broken.
Out front, lap 21 currently for Pietro Ferri, still with a 10-second gap over Alex Gardner, and it's a further 11 seconds then back between Gardner and Scott Marsh. But Ethan Faramond right with Scott Marsh now, 1.6 seconds away. Got to overtake and then stretch his legs by 5 seconds in order to secure a podium. So that is no means a certainty. And it will mean that potentially we've got, well, a different winner today. Got to remind myself whether Riccitelli has already taken a race win this season, having dealt with a few of the championships since we looked at this morning's race.
He's got back again. 19 is ahead of 93 again.
Yes.
And now under pressure from the number 99. Warning flag though to Boutellier for track limits, who's going to watch himself on a couple of runs. It's Arnaud Malizia in the number 99 Team Virage car. This is a battle between these three for 7th place.
So still absolutely loads happening in this race. There's the Garduño car having fallen back behind, as you say, the Boutellier-driven number 19, who he and his teammate this weekend began as the championship leaders. And car number 7, has not taken a race win so far. They finished second in the second race at Barcelona, but this would be a first win if they can stay there, and a nearly 10-second margin is certainly encouraging for that duo at this point, with 12 minutes to go.
Simone Riccitelli, probably one of the longest surviving drivers in this Ligier European Series. It's been part of it for quite some time, battling a pair of JS P4s past the 75 and racing JS2R. And bad news, I'm afraid, Vincent Boutellier under investigation now for track limits.
Yes. So that's gone from a warning to now being checked for a final time, and under investigation tends to be the precursor to an actual penalty.
Effectively, you've done it again.
Yeah, when we told you not to, or we told you to keep an eye on it. Faramond on the boot lid of Scott Marsh, might be able to pick him off nice and easily before the chicane, in fact. Again, the foreshortening effect of the camera, but the 6 car is ahead, and Ethan Faramond squeezes his way into 3rd position at the North chicane. Now he's got to open up this 5-second gap.
That's exactly right. So on the road up into 3rd place, but will only retain that if he can open up a 5-second lead in the next 11 minutes and whatever it takes to complete the final lap.
Yep. And there are 13 seconds to Alex Gardner, so that feels like a big ask to then also extend the gap, even if he could catch Alex Gardner and pass him by another 5 seconds. So 3rd place is probably the best he can hope for, he and his teammate, but it's not finished yet.
The interesting one here is going to be the 5th place car. It's Auguste Turbo. He's matching the pace of the number 6 car at the moment. The gap is just over 6 seconds. That could be, if Auguste Turbo can up the ante, 2 places lost with that penalty for the new 3rd place car. It's going to be about how much that Faramond can now put on Scott Marsh.
Yeah, good point. But yeah, Turbo being closer and potentially the right side for him of Scott Marsh to clear the Marsh car could be a further threat for Faramond. Gabriel Doyle-Parfait and Vincent Boutellier for Trajectus Motorsport. There's only a couple of seconds, 2.6 between those cars as well.
10 minutes to go. And we know that the final phases of these races, Johnny, can often produce all sorts of dramas. Turbo's not giving this one up. Tempted to give a turbocharge pun, but I'm going to just duck that one.
I think you sort of did, but otherwise well resisted. The 2 leaders are on the Mistral together, so the Ferry car, Pietro Ferry's just cleared 88, which is Marcus Terkildsen. So they're occupying the same sector, but now a lap apart from one another. Here's the number 3 of Noah Rosser, who's cleared Vingelis.
He has indeed.
So that'll put Noah Rosser up to 5th place now. And the Pegasus racing car of Kasparas Vingelis down to 6th. Maxime Aparicio for VSF Sports, a Pro-Am entry, is quite a bit further up the road actually, so Noah Rosser might have to just sit tight now and finish in 5th place. But there's been a bit of overtaking for the American to do. Terkelsen, 12 seconds an advantage now. It's taken him, it feels like, a longer amount of time to get to that level. We haven't had the race needing to be neutralised, unlike this morning's race. But the 23 events racing car, of course, has had a lot of work done to it. Here it is, exiting Virage Dupont.
Maybe an element of him just making sure that everything's as it should be. Levels, alarms, you name it.
True.
It's another impressive run from Terkelsen. 9 seconds the overall lead. Pietro Ferri from Alex Gardner, and coming down again a little. Behind that, Ethan Faramond is a further 13 seconds back, with Scott Marsh 1.8 seconds back. But the key thing is, where is August Turbo? And the answer was that 5.6 seconds back. Needs to pick up another 0.7 of a second, and he'll pick up 2 places.
There will be a penalty to the Veloso Motorsport car now for currently Pedro Moreiros. That's a stop and go penalty for 2 seconds because of being under the pit stop reference time for number 35. And that was the car that needed to take the extra 10 seconds, was it not as well? Yes. So your 105 seconds is the standard, and then 115 seconds once you bolt on 10, I think is the theory. Otherwise, the 2 seconds kind of doesn't make sense. So there was a car very early on in the piece that got a 10-second penalty. We can check that, but it's actually one that's further down the order in JS2R, so won't affect the podium positions.
So to explain, they did serve the 10 seconds correctly, we're being told, but then I think muffed up the overall total.
Oh no!
So they did what they did, because you'll pause at the beginning of the pit stop, but did not pause enough at the end.
Yeah. So right. So the car they didn't touch for 10 seconds. That was absolutely correct. But then they've sent it a tad too early, and it's crossed the pit lane exit line 2 seconds under. Well, their intent was there, but unfortunately, rules are rules.
We'll tell you, Alex Gardner is catching Pietro Ferri about a second a lap at the moment. Car 19, meanwhile, we saw this under investigation, not following race director's instructions. That was the tussle, wasn't it, through turn 1, not following the cut through. So the 19 car in the hands of Vincent Boutellier could be in trouble here. Looking as well at the gap in JS2R. If you look at our race leader, it's 8.2 seconds now. One to keep an eye on is ceding a bit of time here and there. May well be judging this at the end of the race.
Yes.
But in JS2R, it's increasingly dominant from Marcus Terkelsen. Simone Bianco is now 14.7 seconds back. Keeping an eye too, August Turbo is now within 5 seconds of Ethan Tharamont. And car 19 has 5 seconds added to the elapsed race time. Vincent Boutellier, and that will cost him, as things stand, 2 positions.
So he'll fall behind Arnaud Malizia and Christian Garduño, Team Virage and Petrogold cars, and down to 9th place because of that. But yeah, there's a bit of a question mark as to where Ethan Faramond will finish in the confirmed result. He's running 3rd on the road at this stage, but is not far enough clear of Scott Marsh or August Turbo as things stand, and he'll fall in the gap between Turbo and Doyle Parfait, so down into 5th place.
It's going to get
trouble,
not again.
Disaster again for the 88 car of Marcus Terkelsen.
In the same place.
It's the straight on the approach to the chicane. He hasn't quite made the chicane on this occasion. There's no telltale smoke this time.
Unbelievable.
But the 88 car has stopped again. And this is absolutely heartbreaking now for someone who has never put a foot wrong all weekend. 2 pole positions. He led from pretty much lights to almost flag, and then the car stopped. And right now again, from a full throttle section, presumably all new components, but something has gone wrong big time once more.
Unreal.
I actually thought I was watching a replay then from earlier this morning.
He's going to go and see his old friends at that marshal's post. Before, as we're watching this, absolutely gutting. Safety car, by the way, that might well be it.
And that's going to be massively damaging to those cars that are carrying penalties, incidentally.
It's worse still for the 19 car, because they've also got a drive-through penalty for track limits.
Oh.
So that's going to drop them, I think, out of the top 10.
Yes, because is that 35-second penalty, 30-second penalty, something like that for a drive-through?
So if there is time added, and we're behind a safety
everybody's
car,
bunched up. Yep. Now, the safety car's not picked up Pietro Ferri. Hoping Ferri hasn't passed the safety car. He will tend to know better than that, I'm sure. So let's just watch this. Safety car, well, the yellow flags are out behind, and the safety car didn't get out in time, basically. So he hasn't illegally overtaken the safety car. And
now, maybe that Ronnie Assimi is going to ask him to, he's done exactly the right thing. Safety car will now pick up the race leader, and all is well for everybody other than the utterly luckless Marcus Kilson.
I mean, I don't even know where to begin with this.
Here's the thing, this weekend will be scored 0 points in racing for Marcus, and how dominant has he been?
Yeah.
And drove races, by the way, in 2 completely different ways this morning, ran for the hills. No doubt at all. You could legitimately have taken a conclusion, maybe he overdrove the car. That was not the way he drove the race today.
No, because the gap was sitting at 4 and 5 seconds for the first 20 or so minutes, and he didn't need to nurse the car. We don't know how much work has actually taken place on that machine, whether it was a brand new engine put in or a repaired engine. But, I mean, the interesting thing for me is that, again, there's no white smoke that we had this morning. There was just no power, presumably, and the car has pulled off the road on that full throttle section of the Mistral Straight. Well, and he's already on a bike. Or we've got
one of the intervention quads that can get there quickly. If they can get that car to a place of safety, the problem is, I don't think it's going to be in time.
No.
Because you've clearly got to get the car to a place of safety before the end of a safety car lap. That I think we're finishing under a safety car.
Yeah, I agree with you in that it's going to take a minute easily from this point under safety car speed, probably actually the full 90 seconds, and that's all we've got on the clock.
Well, that being the case...
by the way, because of no Marcus Terkildsen anymore, all of a sudden the 81 LR Motorsport car now is likely to win JS2R for the solo driver Simone Bianco. So he's done very well as a solo racer, much like Marcus Terkildsen, to negate that 5 seconds extra that you've got to spend in the pit lane versus Antonin Bernard and Daniel Dalikian, who of course was in the wars.
Well, the 41 car's had a hell of a weekend in championship turns.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. Well, a win earlier this morning and now a second place.
A fighting second place.
But also damage all across the front of that car. But where do, as far as consoling Marcus Terkildsen's and the young man early on in his career, where do the crew 23 events racing begin in an attempt to do that? Because he's done absolutely everything right. Could still win the championship for JS2R, but 2 non-finishes are hugely damaging, particularly when you consider the drop-off in points. And it could have been 50 to what is actually going to be 0.
But it's the dominance. This is the thing. It's the dominance of both those drivers. And I'll say it again. It's 2 entirely different ways of being dominant. This morning, it really was run for the hills from the green flag, build the lead, safety car, build it again, push like hell, and then the car lets go. Now, there is an argument to say, maybe, push too hard. But he didn't drive like that this afternoon.
No.
You know,
but it's a car that's already gone wrong in the day. You don't know necessarily what the first failure has then done further down the food chain, if you like. Has it damaged components that they weren't able to check in the interval? It's a very short turnaround between the end of race 1 and the start of race 2. They might be linked, but on the other hand, it might be completely coincidental. And how do you begin to explain that in your own mind? We will try and find out. Unfortunately, we'll be off air by the time we get the answers, but we'll try and bring them to you later on in the season.
I mean, remarkably, driver of the day hasn't finished either race.
No, indeed. They're the same driver in your mind, are they? Or are you thinking of two different drivers?
No, I'm thinking driver of the day across both races hasn't finished either of them. And no doubt in my mind, I don't think he put a foot wrong.
No.
Utterly gutting. It is confirmed, by the way, as the last lap, Johnny, behind the safety car. So it's going to be Pietro Ferri that takes the win. It is going to be Simone Bianco that takes the LR. The JS.
Breathe.
Start again. Takes the second class win for LR Motorsport. So it's an LR Motorsport double win.
Yes. Yeah, so that looked very unlikely, didn't it?
JS2 R was what I was looking for. It's just my mind was clouded. I apologise.
So JS P4 and JS2R, LR Motorsport taking the victory in each of those categories. And again, the gaps between the cars will be not representative at all, sadly, of the race that we have had, because twice the Ligier European Series have raced today, this weekend, and twice their races have ended under a safety car. It does give us an opportunity, I suppose, to celebrate the various podium finishers. So Pietro Ferri, with thanks to Simone Riccitelli's performance in qualifying yesterday, which meant that their car started from pole and looked very, very impressive during the opening stint. Their pit stop went flawlessly as well. 1 minute, 45 seconds, absolutely bang on the nose, and the race will be completed after 27 laps. Second place will go to the 14 of Alex Gardner, who closes out the stint. Really good drive from Simon Schrantz, though, I felt, in the opening half an hour or so. And although Ethan Faramon's car is shown in third position at this stage, that penalty, 5-second penalty, will be added to their race time at the end of this lap, and it will drop the Faraman car behind Scott Marsh, who will be promoted to the podium, car number 33, along with his teammate Jan Olive. And we'll have to wait and see how far the Faramon's car that he shares with Mika Abrahams is actually going to drop. Simone Bianco, as they're given the chance to semi-race to the line. This is to allow for various photographs to be taken and for the safety car not to be in shot. But no overtaking, of course, before they get to the control line, which is the end of the race. And there is confirmation then for Simone Riccitelli and for Pietro Ferri to be the race winners. And where in the end does Ethan Faramond finish? It is down in 8th position for car number 6 for ANS Motorsport. Simone Bianco confirmed as the race winner for LR Motorsport in number 81 from the VSF Sports 41 car of Daniel Dalecan, who started, and Antonin Bernard, who is in second. Third position in JS2R as a full category will actually go to a Pro-Am car. So an excellent performance from Maxime Aparicio and Anthony Guibodo. They are a bronze and silver combination, but they make their way onto the overall podium. Excellent effort.
Yeah, Ethan Faramond, 8th. That really did hurt, didn't it?
Yeah. So a chance then to reflect. A chance to reflect on this second race of the Ligier European Series this morning and this afternoon's race, combining to form Heat 2 of the LES, the Ligier European Series for 2026. And a relatively tidy start to this point, but then two cars escaping, and not in necessarily the right fashion either. One tried to stick to the escape road. The other one, though, way across the no man's land section. In fact, two of them to that point. You're told to actually rejoin much further down the road, but there was then a penalty for car number 6 for not obeying those instructions. The racing continued down towards Virage du L'Hôtel, and really good opening stint from Jan Olive, the Spaniard in the Petrogold car, number 33, sharing that car as he does with Scott Marsh. So that early fight was excellent to watch. Now 3 JS2Rs got hooked up with one another. The spinning 41 car, heavily delayed, 68 spun and then was T-boned by the 83 Trajectors Motorsport car of Charles Lambert, which put Lambert and Laurence Herbeau out of the race on the spot, very sadly. But those cars will be repaired, and we look forward to seeing those guys back in the championship, hopefully at Le Mans. Side-to-side contact here as well, with Sebastian Koteng tagging the rear of the number 6 car for ANS, and 3 cars off at very high speed. Koteng was one of them, in fact, along with the then-driven Martin Lachmann-driven car, number 57, that he subsequently handed over to August Turbo. Here it was Cindy Goudet being picked off by Daniel Dalecan in number 41 as one of the JS2Rs peeled off very early on in the pit stop window. A squeal of tyres and a big spin for the 93 Petrogold car of Christian Gardugno, and then spinning in sympathy was Thomas Pompidou. Neither actually had any contact, amazingly, even for the cars that they were then able to overtake them through the gaps. This, we just could not believe was happening for the second time today. Marcus Terkildsen with a huge lead of over 12 seconds. He had an even bigger lead this morning, but at virtually the same point on the racetrack at the North Chicane, his 23 events racing car grinding to a halt, and he would be out of the race again. Marcus Terkildsen has kissed goodbye to 50 points this weekend through no fault of his own. But the win in JS P4 going to Pietro Ferri and Simone Riccitelli, and promoted to JS2R win, Simone Bianco.
Quite the weekend, Johnny, and 2 amazing races for all sorts of reasons for the Ligier European Series. Continues to knock it out the park. 27 laps completed with that safety car finish, and it was indeed the LR Motorsport number 7 car, Pietro Ferri, Simone Riccitelli, Alex Gardner, and Schranz in the first of the Team Virage cars. But the dramas all came with Simone Bianco, the victor, after the terrifically unlucky Marcus Terkildsen, a second failure on the car in 2 successive races, but in dominant form.
So Simone Bianco will be buying a lottery ticket this weekend, perhaps, because he's had a lot of luck in that particular race. The same can be said for the 41 crew this morning as well. And these will be points they'll be incredibly grateful of versus a rival that will continue throughout the course of the year, Marcus Terkildsen. Our thoughts with him this evening. He'll be back fighting at Le Mans, I'm sure. Bye-bye for now.
messieurs, ravi de vous retrouver à l'issue de cette deuxième course, la deuxième de ce samedi ici en terre varoise à l'occasion de cette deuxième course également de la Ligier European Series. Après l'Espagne il y a 3 semaines, nous voici cette fois-ci en France du côté du Paul Ricard au Castellet pour célébrer ensemble le deuxième podium de cette journée de samedi, deuxième course également éponyme pour la Ligier European Series. L'occasion pour nous de vous accueillir ici sur ce podium comme à l'accoutumée pour célébrer ensemble les conclusions, les finalités de ce week-end ô combien passionnant, tant convoité par nombre d'entre vous. Vous les avez soutenus, vous les avez encouragés et cette fois-ci vous allez pouvoir une fois de plus les applaudir chaleureusement. C'est donc pour nous l'occasion de démarrer le podium. The podium in a few seconds. C'est le moment d'accueillir ceux qui, sur la 3e marche de la catégorie JS P4, vont venir nous retrouver on the 4th place pour représenter l'équipe Petrogold. Et sous vos applaudissements, mesdames et messieurs, ladies and gentlemen, l'endurant arrivé, Scott marche. Avec les applaudissements ô combien mérités, accueillons désormais ceux qui terminent deuxième de ce classement JSP4 avec le numéro 14 pour représenter le Team Virage. On the second position, ladies and gentlemen, Alex Gartner et Simon Schrontz. Accueillons, cher public, désormais les grands vainqueurs de cette deuxième course, Ligier European Series, à la première place, on the first place, pour représenter l'équipe LR Motorsport. Ladies and gentlemen, Simone Riccitelli et Petro Ferri. Applaudissements également pour leur team représentative présent avec eux sur ce podium. Mesdames et messieurs, pour célébrer cette performance sportive, écoutons ensemble l'hymne national d'Italie, The Italian Anthem. Mesdames et messieurs, on va vous demander de les applaudir comme il se doit. Applaudissements s'il vous plaît. On va vous demander de prendre vos trophées avec vous pour les photos finales. For the final pictures, raise your trophies. Champagne, mesdames et messieurs, vous sous vos applaudissements, c'est champagne for the pilots. Merci à toutes et à tous d'avoir été présents à leur côté, de les avoir soutenus, de les avoir encouragés tout au long de cette deuxième course de la journée. Nous sommes ô combien ravis de vous accueillir ici avec nous sur ce podium de la Ligier European Series pour célébrer ensemble les conclusions de cet événement sportif qui nous a fait vibrer et qui nous a permis de vivre toutes les émotions que nous découvrons jusqu'à présent. Le moment pour nous désormais de récompenser les vainqueurs Pro-Am, cette fois-ci sur le podium que nous allons dans quelques instants recevoir. The winner of the Pro-Am category pour représenter l'équipe Breton Racing avec le numéro 69. Sous vos applaudissements, the winner, ladies and gentlemen, Marie Christensen et Dominique Bastien. Avec leur team représentative qui les accompagne sur ce podium. Sous vos applaudissements chaleureux, vous pouvez les applaudir encore une fois, mesdames et messieurs. Voilà qui est absolument mérité. Rise your trophies for the final pictures. Et nous leur souhaitons une suite aussi passionnante, aussi magnifique, et de pouvoir trinquer à cette jolie performance. Et finalement, il y aura quand même du champagne avec leur team représentative. Toujours de la bonne ambiance, toujours des valeurs partagées entre les équipes, les pilotes qui ont grandement travaillé toutes et tous tout au long de cette journée. Et bien voilà, une petite surprise pour terminer. Nous avons nous aussi trinqué à ce final ô combien passionnant que nous venons de vivre. Le moment pour nous de commencer en appelant le podium du classement général de la deuxième catégorie que l'on va appeler désormais la JS2 R, avec cette grande famille Ligier qui va continuer de vous faire plaisir pendant les prochains instants. Et nous allons débuter avec ceux qui terminent en troisième place du classement général avec le numéro 18 pour représenter l'équipe VSF Sports. On the third position, ladies and gentlemen, Maxime Aparicio, Anthony Gibaudot. Ils prennent un petit peu d'avance et ils ont raison. Accueillons désormais ceux qui en deuxième position vont venir les retrouver pour représenter leur équipe, également VSF Sports. Mesdames et messieurs, ladies and gentlemen, on the second position, Daniel Delakian, Antonin Bernard. Applaudissons désormais et accueillons ensemble les grands vainqueurs, les grands gagnants pour représenter l'équipe LR Motorsport avec le dossard numéro 80, the winner of the JS2 R. Mesdames et messieurs, le grand vainqueur, Simone Bianco, accompagné de son team représentative. L'Italie pour la seconde fois sur le toit du circuit Paul Ricard à l'occasion de ce podium. Mesdames et messieurs, ensemble, écoutons l'hymne national italien, The National Anthem. Mesdames et messieurs, on va vous demander de les applaudir comme il se doit, chaleureusement, avec votre ferveur et votre admiration. Nul doute sur ce circuit Paul Ricard. On va vous demander de bien vouloir lever votre trophée. Rise your trophies for the pictures, pour les dernières photos, pour le grand final de cette rencontre JS2 R à l'occasion de cette deuxième compétition annuelle après l'Espagne. C'était il y a 3 semaines. Voici désormais la France en terre varoise avec le Castellet et le circuit Paul Ricard. Messieurs, pour vous, le champagne. La cérémonie champagne ceremony. Voilà tous ces moments que nous aimons partager avec vous, et beaucoup d'ailleurs en ont fait les frais il y a quelques instants. Tout le monde a trinqué, tout le monde a pu vivre les derniers instants comme il se doit de cette compétition en JS2 R. Poursuivons désormais avec la dernière remise des prix, le dernier podium de cette Ligier European Series, avec les vainqueurs Pro-Am. The Pro-Am Winners dans quelques instants, mesdames et messieurs, pour représenter l'équipe VSF Sports. Sous vos applaudissements, ladies and gentlemen, Maxime Aparicio, Anthony Gibolo. Accompagnés de leur team représentative pour célébrer ensemble ces derniers instants ici au Paul Ricard. Sur le toit du monde, sinon sur le toit du Var, pour cette deuxième course de la journée, deuxième et dernière course de la Ligier European Series, le Castellet 2026. Les photos officielles qui viennent d'être faites il y a quelques instants. Accompagnés de leurs coéquipiers qui étaient précédemment sur le podium. Vous pouvez les applaudir comme il se doit. Voilà qui est pleinement mérité pour l'ensemble de ces pilotes qui nous ont prouvé précision, application, implication également. Alors que nous allons avoir le droit dans quelques secondes peut-être. Que va-t-il se passer? Oui, visiblement à une deuxième dose de plaisir dans quelques instants. Mesdames et messieurs, champagne pour... Ils sont les pros du suspense. Le suspense et la célébration comme il se doit. Pour conclure ce week-end, merci à toutes et à tous d'avoir été présents à nos côtés. Merci à vous pour cet effort partagé. En compagnie de le Bibanhomme, qui nous a fait l'honneur de sa présence. Merci à toutes et tous d'avoir vécu ces instants à nos côtés. Nous sommes ô combien ravis, touchés de votre présence. Merci d'avoir répondu à l'appel. Merci de les avoir applaudis, de les avoir encouragés, de les avoir soutenus. Mesdames et messieurs, c'est ainsi que se clôture cette deuxième remise des prix Ligier European Series JS P4, JS2 R. On vous donne rendez-vous très vite pour de nouvelles aventures. Excellente fin de journée à toutes et à tous et bonne continuation sur les routes du monde.